Hi Network, welcome to our International Mentoring Day here at Northreach. My name's Carl and I'm your host today. We're going to go be speaking to our leadership team here, Ben, Phil and Sam, who've very kindly taken the time out of their day to give us a bit more insight on their management skills. As a combined, they've had over a decade of leading market-leading teams within recruitment, so it's going to be really insightful for you guys watching. So follow me. How do you define leadership? And what I mean by that is like traits that define a good leader.
First and foremost, thanks for having me, Carl. Right, traits. I think first things first, you need to be empathetic. You need to understand people have a life outside of work and respect that and appreciate that and understand that not every day is going to be a perfect day and kind of go through the ups and downs with each other. Secondly, I think a good leader needs to be kind, understanding, be patient. I'm a strong believer if I've never asked someone to do something that I wasn't prepared to do myself or haven't already done myself. I'm often on the front line kind of battling away with the guys, as you know. What else? I think you need to have a good sense of humour. I think you need to, have fun, because work, we do take our job seriously, but we also want to have fun and enjoy what we do, because life is too short as well, right? So, yeah, I think they're the top traits that kind of come to mind a good leader should have. And obviously lead by example as well, right? But that's what I meant by being in the trenches and not asking people to do things that I wasn't willing to do myself.
How do you mentor and sort of develop team members, would you say?
I've looked at loads of different podcasts and things like that in the past, and everyone's got lots of different ways to do it. But the one I really like, and I'm going to completely butcher because I can't remember who actually done it, but it was a podcast I was listening to about leaning in and leaning out. And I think in our game, not everyone can be like the best recruiter in terms of business development, account management, delivery, da. So in my mind, it's about kind of identifying where people can and are good at something, they enjoy doing things, and helping them develop that even more and embodying them up with other people that want to learn that. But then equally, they're going to be things they're not so good at. And if they're not absolutely essential to the job or they just need training, you can actually use them as development points or completely eradicate that from the role and keep to their strengths.
In terms of like communication, right, it's such a big part of leading a team, especially, fast-paced market. How do you communicate, your visions as a team together?
Well, first of all, our visions are a team vision. It's never just, I want to do this. Everything's always going to be as a team, which is good. Again, it doesn't matter if it's one person or 500. But yeah, just open door policy, constant updates. We are an actual really cool team. We do a lot together, and we're always talking about how we're getting on, ups and downs. But yeah, just literally door open policy for me.
How do you sort of approach delegation and empowering your team, would you say?
I think this is probably the hardest thing. I think this is the hardest thing. I think in any kind of sales organisation that we're working in, to delegate anything is really super hard, because you're not just delegating some responsibility, you're delegating clients sometimes, you're delegating relationships, and where you foster something yourself, to ask someone to do it to the same standards, to the same intensity is really hard. So the only way I found to do it is to help them and mentor them and let them make their own mistakes whilst doing it. Because I know factually that I can't grow this company on my own. And I know that people won't have the same standards that I have or do it the same way as someone else would do. And in my mind, as long as I've kind of given the right framework, that's fine. Because they might do something completely better than I'll ever do. And I think that's pretty cool.
So in terms of like conflict, how do you sort of handle conflict within a team if that does happen?
Difficult one. Luckily, we don't have a lot of conflict, and that's not just a cheesy answer. I think because we are being quite open and communicative, and we're all nice to each other, and we know what we're all trying to achieve, which very rarely happens. You will get the odd situation when there's a little bit of conflict. I think it's just important to just hear every side of the story and just kind of hug it out at the end, to be honest with you.
For me personally, trust is quite a big thing, and I know it is for you, right? So how do you build trust with your team, would you say?
I think it kind of leads back into what I was saying earlier, is that, I'm not afraid to show my weaknesses to people. I don't have to kind of put on this persona that I am someone that I'm not. And I think when people see the authentic side of a leader, whether it's myself or anyone else for that matter, and you open up to those vulnerabilities and those weaknesses, then I think the people that look up to you, they realise that you are just a human being and you are a trustworthy person because you're effectively being your authentic self. So if you're always being your authentic self and you're true to your, your values and, your company culture and your mission and your goals, and you're always trying to do the right thing, and kind of going back to what we were saying earlier about the conflicts, that you're always fair, then naturally people can trust in you because of all those things, right?
How do you create a positive and inclusive work culture for your team?
I think it comes back down to communication again. I think for me, it's about I want everyone kind of involved in an opinion. I think the best work and the best projects we've ever delivered have been as a team, where we might just get together and go, look, though we're thinking about this in terms of the business, we want to change something, what are everyone's thoughts? I think that's been a huge difference, because I could run this as a dictatorship, and I could just say this is what we're doing, but how do I know that's what everyone wants? So I think the only way that I know, on a collective, I suppose, where people feel happy and they feel kind of included in something, is make the decisions with me. Do that. And I think we're getting support from different kind of coaches in terms of how we can identify things that might not be as inclusive. I'm not saying we are perfect in every way, but I think having an openness to change and develop and getting people involved is definitely a step in the right direction.
How do you measure success of your team or the project you're working on? How do you measure that?
So obviously you've got the traditional ways of measuring success in terms of KPIs, performance, targets, all those different things. But I know it sounds quite cliche. A big kind of measure that I use of kind of success is people's, I know it sounds so kind of cliche and soft, but genuinely people's happiness and satisfaction in their role, and how positive they are coming into kind of the work that day. Because even if someone is, performing at a higher standard, if they're not enjoying what they're doing, or they've got something else on their mind, or they're distracted, or they're not feeling great, then naturally that kind of performance level is only going to last so long. So I think the biggest kind of measurement of success is people enjoying it, that happiness, that kind of positivity, and that kind of spark and that magic that you can't necessarily describe, but it's just something there that everyone's just. It's just a positive energy. And I think, the great thing about feelings and positivity or negativity is it's quite contagious. So if you have a room of positive people that are kind of fulfilling those things, then that's a good measurement of success in my mind, I think.
Yes. Being a fast-paced market, biotech, right, pharmaceutical space, how do you stay up to date with the latest sort of industry trends, would you say?
It's difficult. There's a lot of information out there. I can't lie. LinkedIn's amazing. Where we've built such a good network, a lot of real key individuals in the arena are posting on a day-to-day basis. So I do make an effort to keep up to date on that. You'll see it's around at most of the cell and gene therapy related conferences, mainly in the UK and Europe at the moment, but US to come. That's really good for shaking hands, looking people in the eyes, and actually saying, look, what's going on out there, understanding the trends. And just talking to candidates every day. Like, scientists love talking about what they do. Like, they love it. So we listen.
That's a wrap, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in today. Really insightful to hear what our leadership team has to say. It's a happy mentoring day, and we'll see you on the next one.